'Cause we're walking worlds and we're talking worlds with Pedro. Yeah, we're walking worlds and we're talking worlds with Pedro. Brian's here too, he's here to ask questions for you about D&D or really anything. 'Cause we're walking worlds and we're talking worlds with Pedro. Onto the show! Let's get onto the show! Here we go! Fade in.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, everyone.
What's up?
Welcome to World Talkers.
World Talkers!
Oh, it's funny. With just the chat open, I can't see who's here.
Josh is here.
Josh is here. I see him in chat.
Yeah.
Chat.
Oh, and we might be having a guest right away.
Oh. Well, then.
Let's see if we get him right away.
Will it work?
Joining us right away should be Enzo, who is going to be trying to live stream from like a skybox from like a Dota tournament. Josh, would you like to talk about worlds? My daughter looking at me. Yeah, let's see what's going on here. But while we wait for Enzo, how is your week and or day or time?
It's been a little weird this week, but it's all working out.
I see your conspiracy board is gone. You've left the fringe.
Well, I haven't left. It's somewhere. Had to put it away. I've gotten very lazy about putting a green screen up.
Hey, Kelly.
Kelly. So, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Oh my goodness.
We've got Enzo.
Enzo.
We've sort of got Enzo.
Silent Enzo.
Kind of lagging. Maybe. I hear something.
Hello?
Hey, I hear Enzo.
There he was.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can now.
Hey.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Doing very well.
How is my I actually supposed to have a good connection right now.
There you go.
Then,
It's working now.
Oh, okay. Maybe it just goes in and out.
Maybe, but it happened when we were talking earlier. Like it took a little bit of time to kind of buffer up and catch up, and then it was like smooth after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
Okay. Well, maybe we can try it for a little bit until my thing dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm at this I'm at a very strange event that I'm not really sure why I'm here.
Yeah.
Are you just happy to not be in the airport anymore?
No, seriously. Like I used to live at the airport, and I kind of have this. I need to go back there. Basically.
Can you speak a little louder?
I was in the. Hello, can you hear me?
Well, much better.
Okay, great. I'll just do this. I was in the airport for so freaking long. I don't even know, like, what it's like to live outside the airport anymore.
It looked like you had a very nice little hovel.
Yeah, no, it was actually great. We were really lucky because we found this area that people actually sleep in all the time, and it was really funny because they had like all these mattresses and stuff. We looked like some kind of area that people actually sleep in Midwest all the time. But it was really funny. What happened was that we grabbed all these mattresses. Like we were only supposed to take one, but I took 3. And I made a real comfy bed, and it actually wasn't too bad, honestly. It was actually totally fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Right.
Still alive. Hanging in there.
Yeah. I'm glad that, Pedro, I'm glad that you're still alive, because every time I talk to you, it's just like something new that's like fighting you.
Yeah,
Or you're
I haven't said out loud yet. I had a seizure this morning, so.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'll do like a little medical update soon for people, but what?
Okay.
And my brother was like, "Do you need me?" I was like, "I mean, always, but no."
Always.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
So yeah, we
What about you, Brian?
What's up?
Wait. Sorry, you weren't done.
No.
I was just totally dismissing you, Pedro. I was just told. Pedro, I'm sorry. I totally cut you off.
No, I mean that's about it. I'll give an update later on, like I said, but doing okay. Enzo asked how Brian was doing.
What?
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's feeling okay. A little tired.
Enzo looks well rested from everything that happened in the swamp.
We got a question in for Enzo. How many hot dogs have you eaten today?
Today, that's actually funny because I tweeted that I ate a lot of hot dogs, and then I realized that they're all
what?
They're not vegan hot dogs. So I can't eat them. So that I totally lied on that tweet.
Oh man, you got called out.
Yeah. Well, I am admitting my hypocrisy. So shameful.
Yep. Yep.
Well, hey, while we have you here, some people actually sent in some questions specifically for you.
Yeah, we can knock Enzo's out right away.
Oh, there he is.
Sure.
All right.
Are we live right now?
Well, we're live.
Yeah, man.
Oh, we are. Okay. I didn't realize. I thought we were just testing out the sound.
Test it live.
Yeah, it sounds
Do
real
it live.
good. I'm just gonna go. Just gonna go for it.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
We run a very professional ship around here.
Excellent.
Yeah, we had a fun episode or two that came out. Pretty low brow, low key.
Yeah,
I know. I heard.
Yeah, just a couple people hanging out, chatting.
Cool.
Yeah, just in the swamp, having a good old time.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging out with swamp gods.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I have two questions for you, but they are essentially the same question.
Okay.
And they are, one is, will you describe what was going through your head as you were deciding whether to keep Roberto's physical body or accept Narmal's deal? Do you remember this happening?
Yeah, I remember. So I remember that it was actually a very difficult decision for Roberto. Because it was like, obviously Roberto's prime directive seems to be, we got to save the world. We got to save everyone and everything living and breathing. But I like to think that that decision that he made was actually pretty damn selfish. Probably for this first time he's made a significant selfish decision. Because, again, his prime directive is protect everyone, but he's gotten to he's he's gotten to the point where he has friends and he has a family, and he's just hey, I kind of want to stick around and see these guys, even though the decision that he made would save them. It would be one, he would be I kind of want to be around after they're saved.
Right.
And I guess I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it does. Yeah.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah. And
how much of it was Roberto's?
Yeah, no, looking back on that moment.
Is that good?
How much of that was Roberto's decision
versus Enzo's?
Oh, Roberto and Enzo are one and the same.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I have tried to define the difference many times, and there is no line.
There's no line
between them, because I don't know how to. I have the realization that I don't know how to play a character. I'm just playing myself. So yeah. Like if you
Alright,
pass by
so-
me on the street and you yell my D&D name, I will turn around. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So that explains why you ultimately chose to stay in your physical form, because you didn't want to die
Yeah.
in real life.
I don't want to die.
Or in the game.
In real life either. Yeah, because like if I end up having to make a new character, I'm gonna have to actually act.
Sure, yeah, a little bit. I think Enzo doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's funny. So someone did send in a similar question, but I feel like it's hilarious enough to ask. Did you feel anything when you let the swamp die?
Wow, that's harsh and uncalled for. And there was a tremendous amount of guilt both in game and outside. Like, actually remember quite clearly. Like after we stopped recording, I was kind of mad and I stood up and I left.
Yeah, no, I have it because we were.
Well, not mad. I was upset.
We were recording on Zoom still, so like after the game ended, and then you just kind of went off on me. And I thought I was gonna ask you if you were okay with me releasing it because it's funny.
No, it's great. It's great. It's just like, I like being put in that situation because it takes me out of my comfort zone, and that makes me like think about what does this character really want? What should I do versus what I want to do? Yeah. And I think it was really, really great. But also, there's a lot of guilt.
Well, it's funny because Pedro and I were talking before, and what's hard for us the people that weren't there, is realizing that like that was one long game session. So not only did the Swamp God jump on you for not taking the Horizon Walker position as a ranger, but it also then gave you another opportunity to do something else. And then, so like that was one long game session. Pedro was just laying it on thick of like how much you've just not done the right thing. So I can imagine having a time after that you just be like, Pedro, what in the heck?
Yeah. Yes, that happens all the time. No, and to be totally honest, it's probably like the first time that Pedro's. I feel that Pedro's really like kind of like put me through like. Well, I felt that was a very, very hard decision, probably the hardest so far. So
most of Roberto's trials and tribulations aren't moral quandaries up until that point.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Should I help Tin get out of the cellar? Yeah, sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, like of course.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you were in this situation again, would you make the same choice?
Ooh.
Okay, well, that is a hard question. Honestly, no. I don't think so. I mean, yes, I would absolutely make the same choice because, again, like I mentioned earlier, or Roberto would make the same choice mainly because we were talking about like his character development, and I feel like he has grown from like a kind of like a one purpose being into like a more complex and individual, I guess.
Yeah,
with like not just the motivations now, but more like desires his own like. And that those desires are tied very, like they're tied through. So, I'd let that swamp die over and over and over again.
Deal with it.
I'm trying to do Pedro face. Yeah.
You can't hold the smile long enough. Unless you freeze up like that, then it works.
Yeah, I was just saying. Oh, zoom in.
Oh
man.
Well, here. Oh, this question looks like it got cut off.
Uh-oh.
But anyways, some people sent in some questions for players that may show up. So let's see. Let me get a good one. Have you? Oh, I know a good one for Enzo actually. So how?
Sure.
One of the questions is, have you ever struggled with a character, and how did you resolve the struggle? More curious, like how does your character deal with characters that come along that are also best friends with Brummelstone?
How do I deal with those characters? Very angrily and brutally and jealously. Because I don't know if that's the word, but yes,
it's a word now.
Yeah, no. Like I would feel that the character of Roberto is very protective, almost to a fault. In that, like, yeah, no, overprotective and just like, who the hell is that person? Why hasn't Brummelstone told me about them? Like, what do I have to do to like? Because like, what they're probably trying to gain his trust and then fuck him over at some later point. So Roberto has to be very protective.
Yeah.
How did you feel the first time that Wes showed up with another big metal monster?
Oh, that hurt. that Let me tell you about the time. The first time that Roberto learned he had a heart because it broke.
Well, and like the players don't know what's happening in the side adventure, so it's not like they're sitting there hearing. I think like one or two of them might have sat in during the Brummelstone Strange Magic story, but unless they're listening in, we don't tell them what's happening. So they like, yeah, all that was kind of brand new for a lot of the players.
Yeah. So I was wondering.
Yeah.
Like wait, who is this?
Right? Like, who is this replacement? And what are they doing here? How dare they?
Let's see. What impact, if any, do the origins of the universe have on your character? In-game universe, not like Big Bang
and. To be honest, like, Roberto, and when I say Roberto, I mean me, has a really bad memory when it's to the origins of the universe.
That's totally
so.
Fair.
In spite of the fact that he's technically like a really, really old elemental being, yeah.
Okay.
Are you saying you forgot what it was?
Yes, he forgot his original life.
That's fair. It's totally fair. Well, Pedro, like, there's a question in here that's a kind of a good combining point. Did the swamp god die, or did it pass on like Roberto will in a very, very long time because everyone else he cares about will die of old age?
No, they let it fucking die. They let it get there. It is fucking gone.
Wow. Wow.
They're not pulling any.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
No, yeah, I was worried that it didn't come through
for that reminder.
Yeah, no, that's
sobering reminder of all my loved ones' mortality.
Yeah, no, that was that. Good run, that swamp.
Oh man,
but
it's okay. We'll grow a new one, a better one.
We'll grow a better swamp.
Yeah, it was left to
Blackjack.
It was attacked by the thing that we said at the end of the episode. If you don't remember, Enzo, is the next episode is the Dream Hunters. you remember that? It's okay if you don't.
Dream Hunters. I
can't tell you more without spoiling stuff, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, from what I can remember, they hunt dreams.
That's fair.
Okay, I remember now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's my favorite part about the Dream Hunter saga.
Johnny wants to know for Enzo, how many animals live within Enzo's body or Roberto's frame?
Well, there was supposed to be more. Like he was supposed to have a collection. If they had all survived up to this point, there would be like 5 or 6. But he seems to have this innate ability to lose them. Is the polite way of putting it?
Well, I don't know if you noticed or not, but Brian ran into Bradley. I think was it you, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I heard this.
Yeah, when he played in World Walker's Cog, he ran into Bradley, who's being watched over by Ben
Gunslingers.
Yep.
I heard this.
Okay. Yeah,
and I'm happy that Bradley has gone to a good life, a better life. Hopefully.
A better place. He's gone to a better place. But like an actual better place.
Wow. Oh yes. Hopefully.
Ideally. I mean, honestly, none of the rest of us have seen him in a while, so Lord only knows. Time's different on Real Honest, right?
That's good times.
All right, let's see. Sorry, I'm just going to move some of these questions around.
Yeah.
I should have numbered them or something, but I didn't.
I'll stall for you. By the way, so the survey we used to get all the questions didn't line any names up, so that's why we're not saying who asked what. But a really fun note, and you're really proud. I put on there, hey, let's do what name do you want us to call you by? Just in case someone, is a little shy, doesn't want their name up on the web, I was like, let's try to do this right so that, we don't worry about, exposing somebody if they don't want to be exposed, right? I want to share with you, I was so proud, some of the names of the people that asked questions. Names such as a member of fashionable metal hats and helms, I think. A wool, a concerned frog, a fan.
So really, it's okay that the names didn't carry over, because
King of Oz.
Y'all don't follow instructions.
Lazy bicycle. But I think it'd be because we're gonna release this publicly, right? And it'd be so funny if we were like, Lazy bicycle asked. Peter Rabbit, an onion moose, is awesome. Like, they took it as seriously as I would have. So I was proud.
Fair.
I was proud. But anyway, so you have your question?
No, I don't. But I do have questions for Enzo about Roberto. Let's just talk a little bit more about how much you enjoy stabbing things in the butt. When did this start? And now that that you and Roberto are the same person, how many people in real life have you stabbed in the butt?
This interview's over.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but plead the 5th or the 4th, or is it? I don't know American amendments, but
you probably don't have to. We can't intern you here, so it's okay.
Write a song about it. Oh.
Should that be good? Was that something that just that you just continued to think it was hilarious, and so you just kept doing it?
Oh yeah, no, like a lot of Roberto's actions are very reactive. Like if he gets a reaction out of people, because this is basically him learning human or humanoid emotions, and something that gets any kind of emotional reaction from someone, he'll continue to do it. And obviously, Bromostone laughed, or probably. So he's just like, oh, hey, this makes Bromostone happy.
Bromostone.
But yeah.
So funny. I got some stuff for Pedro. Okay, well, here's one more for the players that I have. Were you at all tempted to let Tompkins die, I assume, in the swamp? That's the part that got cut off.
How do you feel about Tompkins? I don't think so. Roberto likes Tompkins. He understands that he is he seems to be aggravating to the rest of the group, but he is very essential. He's almost like a kind of glue, like a really, really annoying glue. So,
that's true.
But Roberto does not have a problem with him. Like, he likes him actually a lot, because Tompkins seems to have this kind of like unbreakable optimism. And that's very encouraging, especially because we have go through a lot of BS. So yeah, in spite of it all, Tompkins is always somewhat, for the most part, has always been very like, hey, there's only been one or two times where he's kind of like, that time when like we like left him behind again and got mad. He got mad at us.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments. I have a question for Enzo, actually, and that's what is your favorite part of playing D&D? Like, yeah, what is it that what's your favorite part? What's your favorite aspect of the game?
My favorite aspect, I do really, really like, I guess it would be like pretty. It would be a kind of like a useless answer if I said everything, but I do really, really enjoy every aspect of the game. If I were to really, really choose, like, I feel like I'm not as strong of a role player as I would like to be. So, but I do like the stories. I just like I feel like a lot of the stuff that I do, I am just kind of waiting for joke setups. And I would like to get better at that. Kind of. Yes. It's like, that line.
Still waiting.
But yeah, I feel like I definitely want to get better at role playing. So if like that's probably one of my weaknesses, I feel, is just kind of like getting into a character and like doing a character. Like, I enjoy the combat just because, like, everyone kind of gets a turn, and like you don't really have to think too much as much as role playing anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
At the same time, fights that go on for too long may get a little bit taking too long, just because for me, I'm a pretty weak character in terms of damage. So when I feel like I'm not really helping the group out as much, I get frustrated. Well, yeah.
Did it feel good?
Overall, though, like I really enjoy everything.
Did it feel good, like as a player who feels weaker in like combat and stuff, to like get to a place like Relanis where like the forest was like, "What up, bro? Come on in. You can move faster in here."
Yeah. Yes. No. That was really, really great, and like I felt like I was actually helping a lot. I actually had a skill that I could use that was very, very beneficial to the group, because I mean, just for me, I've almost always played a healer, like in like video games and stuff. So I like taking a support role, and I like being supportive.
I see Johnny asking a question. He says, for Pedro, why did you pick Enzo as a player? Wouldn't he be too unpredictable for your way of play? And I think the answer to that is there's two answers to that. One of them is that I think my way of play, I think I'm pretty improv based. I think that like I have ideas for where I want to go, where I want the story to go, But the advantage of running my own worlds is that I'm ready for just about any twist, you know? So, I don't think that Enzo's too unpredictable for my play. But the other question is that...
Yay!
The other question is...
I'm normal.
I'm normal.
Well, let's not get too crazy.
The other answer to that question, though, is that, like, I got the whole group as a package. Megan had asked
you had no choice.
Yeah, Megan asked if I would DM and a group that lost their GM. And so, like, I was like, yeah, let's try it out. And but I got the whole group, so like I didn't go out and pick any individual player, but I'm very lucky that I got the players that I received. So.
Aww. Yeah. Stuck with us.
So are we.
It's like you when you go to the shelter and you like really like one dog, but they come with a bond. They're bonded with another dog that you don't like, and you're just like,
no, dog can fuck off. I would never do that.
You know, like, yeah.
James is asking.
You're a werewolf, and all of a sudden you bond with like the girl that you like's baby, and it hasn't even been born yet, and you're just like, what's going on?
James is
asking. That's right. That was a Twilight reference, everybody. You know where I'm
at. James is asking, how many of the 6 of you had 5th edition experience before? I can answer for me. My 5th edition experience, I think, was okay. I was a professional GM, primarily before the podcast. Like, I used to run about 9 different games at my local game shop, and that's how I made my living. So, I had a pretty decent amount of 5th edition experience before then. Enzo?
For me, I personally played 3 sessions before we started with Pedro. Yeah. I am way more experienced.
And I think I think most of them have the same. Wesley is the only one. He played 4th edition, I believe, before 5th edition, and I think he, like everyone else, pretty much hadn't played D&D before. Where except for Wes, who played 5th edition.
Pretty much, yep. That sounds about right. So, unfortunately, I have to leave you guys.
All right, man.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, but I wanted to show you actually what I'm doing.
Yeah, show us. I wanted to see
it. I'm gonna say bye right now because when I get in there, it's gonna be really, really loud. So I'm gonna mute myself. But thank you so much for having me. This is always super fun.
Thanks for joining us.
And yeah. So the event I'm at right now is a Dota International, and it is this big thing. I don't really know what it is because I was invited as an influencer, and I don't know what that means.
You have a lot of followers.
An influencer is somebody with an online presence massive enough that they believe that it can be used for marketing purposes.
I mean, I like that, but I don't feel like my comic is like. Well, I guess I had the dungeon comic. All right. Well, I'm happy. I was just kind of asked to do it, and I'm like, yeah. So I'm gonna show you the room that we're in, and I'm gonna say right now, goodbye, my friends.
Later on.
Bye.
All right. Where is this thing? How do I?
They have doors?
Oh man.
Hey, everyone's like, why the hell are you doing this to us?
Tell us about your event.
Right. Yeah, they get to do like he's like in a skybox.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Start shouting, nerds! No, just kidding. Just kidding. I've never actually played Dota, but I know that it's very, very popular.
Yeah. Apparently.
Bye, Edo. Towards the magical item. Oh, we get some nostrils first. Oh, this is good. This is where the money This is where the money is, right here.
Thanks, Enzo.
See, look, there's gold.
All right. All right, we're all set up. James, door is a magical item that allows one to walk through walls.
They're crazy. Sometimes you gotta look for them first.
I'm a fan.
Sorry, my brain was like, "You're a fan? We're talking about doors." That's where I'm at. Did I mention I was tired? So, to get back on track, so you said Narmul. Get his name right, guys. Well, not anymore. Who cares? He's dead.
Fuck him.
You said he's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. So the question of will he or can he return to the swamp is no, because he's dead. All right.
Before we go on with questions, what did you think of the episodes? Like, I'm really interested to see what listeners think of everything. Like, yeah.
So while I'm answering, you guys also answer too, so that I'm not the only one talking about it, because you guys are important too. So like the last time that you and I talked as world talkers, actually almost in person too, was when Wes was on right after Strange Magic finished up. And so in that time, our characters entered the swamp.
Good night, baby.
Oh. Olivia lost her gun. Like melted. It's gone. It's dead. No more guns. Megan caught back up. They almost died several times. They've nearly, considering how many crystals they had, they've nearly run out of crystals.
They used a few.
They almost killed Tompkins by negligence. Wes showed back up with his metal monster. Yeah, so like a lot has happened. And then they almost got taken out by, they very well convinced some nightmare frogs to help them.
Yeah.
And then exactly what the nightmare frogs were worried about happened. But at least they went, doing the right thing, I guess. And then and then they finally got to go see Narmul. And boy, I don't know what I was expecting exactly, but I was very intrigued with how he was interacting with them. It was funny to watch him push and prod Megan, who I feel like like always takes it very personally, which is fun for me. But like in this big, huge thing of trying to figure out who they are, like deep down, and then the whole background of it, having the concepts as people. One person was saying in here, like, "Oh snap, we have a real villain now, like with a name and stuff." Like, yeah, no, that's really, really cool, and I really liked. I really like how you or the world kind of brought all that together. Yeah, I'm really intrigued to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And as a person who has listened to most of the Relanis stuff and knowing that they were ejected from the world essentially. If you guys haven't, like, go back and listen to the Relanis or watch it or listen, whatever you choose to do. It's very interesting. They go into the Underwood, which one of our favorite characters comes back, but then they are suddenly ejected, and we've talked a couple times, right? And we've heard a couple times that like time works different in the Underwood, and so I'm very intrigued with like, so what else happens in Relanis that they just suddenly get ejected from the world? Because it doesn't sound good that they were running the last time we see them. So I liked that. It's like, yeah, you saved Tompkins. You might have destroyed everything, but you saved him. Good, good. I really like getting the whole like thing of it. So if you guys are looking, somebody said like a unifying theory of Worldwalker cinematic universe. You gotta start listening to the Rolana stuff, man.
What is that?
All over the place. Oh, just kind of like all these pieces parts, like kind of bringing all the worlds together, stuff like that. You know, like Cagliostro, stuff like that.
Yeah,
because they haven't seen that in actual Worldwalkers.
No, but I can tell you that in the new podcast coming out, Worldwalkers Cog, that concept is brought up again.
Nice.
Yeah, that idea.
We're gonna have so much to talk about.
James, I'll answer this real fast. James asked, "Are we going to get to learn what happened with Tin?" I was excited for her side adventure. I was too. Would have loved to have a side adventure. Wrote it all up. Really excited about it, and she was just like, "I don't want it. I don't want to do it." She had no interest in it. So, I think I wrote something up for her. I'll see if I can dig it up. But I wrote like this little tagline that pretended as if we played it, but no, she did not want anything to do with it. She has been adamant about not being in side adventures. So, she was all set up for one, didn't want it. I'm not going to force her. So, she was in the side she teamed up with Ertleby for one. That was it. Probably not going to get her to do another one unless like.
To be fair, you push people on those side adventures. There's a lot of tough choices on those side adventures.
Yeah,
we almost lost Vasa. She could have chosen to. She could have chose to do anything. She was was millennia in the past.
It was pretty. It was I had no. She drastically changed a piece of Obrimo's.
It's awesome. Let's see, Josh. This is a good time. I assume you mean time to ask my standing question. What did you all do to Rolanus? I guess we'll find out.
The answer is coming up. Here you go. You wanna? If you guys want to know, I haven't released this before. I don't think. This is what I wrote up for 10. I sent this to her right before she joined the rest of the group. What you experienced in there after the Spirit Temple. The revelations, the questions, and yes, even the goodbyes cannot be undersold. Those moments will walk with you, breathe with you for the rest of your life. But it's over. Whatever it means, however you end up interpreting it all when you lay beneath the stars with her gun by your side, that's for another time. Now the fogs roll back, and as promised, you see the path you must take. The vision before you, however, is not what you expected. Inside the open road, you see before you Instead of the open road, you see before you a dark and foreboding swamp. A small clearing enclosed by dead trees contains what's left of your friends. Vasa lays back first in the water, next to Ertleby. Both remain unmoving. On top of them, two creatures, though you can't discern their shape. The first one leans forward with a palm on Ertleby's head, while its other hand reaches into her mind and pulls out a thread of darkness you instantly recognize as a nightmare. The second stands on top of Vasa, screaming into the night sky while darkness pours out of its mouth in waves. So I wrote that up for her, like to try to get her into the game, into the mood. But
that was nice closure too, for a little bit of Nina closure you got going on there that James is asking for.
Well, I left it vague. I was like, however you interpret it, because she didn't fucking play, so I. Yeah, so
you can't force anybody to do stuff that they don't want to do. No matter how much you may want it.
I know. Yeah.
Let's see. What else did we miss? Anything? Yeah, no. I don't think there's too many people on at the moment.
Yeah.
But
any other questions?
Yeah, there's a bunch of questions. Okay. Quite a few about the concepts.
Yeah.
It says have the players, but I'm going to say have any players encountered one of the 7 concepts yet.
Like in any game ever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Any games that we know about?
I have mentioned a game called the Chronos a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, in the Travelers, there are 2 time traveling people that Vasa has to run from. Kerbin and I'm kind of forgetting her name right now. But Phelan? No. I don't remember her name. But those 2 are part of a group called the Chronos that were trying to knock out essentially the pillars of time and collapse existence. And people that were involved in that campaign did encounter some of the concepts. But then even before that, like there's been concepts that have been met throughout like the 20-some years I've been running the campaign. So
yeah, just a little bit of time.
But
someone asked a really good question. Hang on a second.
What?
Let's see. Oh yeah. So when did you first come up with the 7? And how did you decide to make them?
That's basic. I'm trying to kind of answer this without not saying like I can't answer that. I came up with them at the beginning of like my time. Like I wanted a location and I wanted to have a reason for the location, and so I had them involved with that reason. And so they were a part of it really, really early on. They had a slightly different name back then, but yeah.
What was their former name?
I can't say because it might play out in the story.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But I made them to explain the thing I wanted to do, and then I just kind of went from there.
So let's see. All right. So finality has been imprisoned.
Mm-hmm.
So why do people die?
So the way that works out is that what I was trying to do, maybe I didn't tell the story very well, but like the idea is that each concept introduces a piece of itself into existence and focuses existence. Like all the concepts existed, all these versions of reality existed, right? But as each one stepped forward, they brought their focus and their concept to the forefront. Finality doesn't need to be present for it to exist. Does that make sense? Like once it introduced, that was the whole idea, is that when finality introduced its concept, that was it. The idea was that now things could end.
Existed. Got it.
Like there's no way around it. Then that was what was so troubling, is maybe any other concept maybe could have altered or changed or withdrawn, but when finality came forward, that was it. The concept of the end was introduced. Can't really take that one back out. Like, yeah.
That's a good question. Well, James asks, are all the concepts equally-ish represented between worlds?
Yep. It's hard to say more, but I think that if someone started doing some math, they would figure that out pretty fast.
Yeah, it does sound like a familiar number that might be in this kind of situation.
Right. Yeah. So what Brian's talking about is that those who played in World Walker's Cog had seen that there were 7 spheres in the church. There are 7 spheres in the church. There are 7 concepts.
Huh.
And the number 7 keeps showing up throughout the game. There's
Interesting. That is cool. Oh yeah, and one of them was a time thing. Oh boy, you guys. We got things going on
Are
here.
you seeing more chat than I am? Oh wow, I'm not on live chat.
Damn
it. Okay.
Done messed up. 7 crystal stars in Paper Mario. There
Is
you go.
There? I never played Paper Mario.
I don't know. That's what James says. I have never played Paper Mario either. Do math. What?
Like Josh is like, I have an idea for a side adventure. Have them play the Pathfinder playtest. No, yes. A hard pass.
Yeah. So I want to know how that went because I was not actually able to listen to that one.
It's fucking garbage fire. Because here's the real. I had this thought. So like one of my
how you truly feel.
One of my secret dreams has always been to either be on a panel at a con. Or to be interviewed by somebody who wanted to actually, like some kind of like journalistic or whatever, right? And I've been on so many rants in the last couple of days. I don't know that it's smart for me to talk out loud, but I'm about to because fuck the Pathfinder playtest, man. What a garbage fire of fucking writing. It's like somebody took a thesaurus and then just like shook it for 15 minutes. And then scattered its remains across a book and then slammed it shut. And someone said, should we proofread it? And they said, shh.
We'll proofread it next time.
It's just a play test. And shipped it out. Because there are really fun concepts in that game.
Yeah.
And the game understands certain aspects of game design that like, so for instance, do you know why people gamble? So there's this theory in game design called Skinner box, and it's the idea that like they did it with mice, and every time you hit a button, the mouse gets a pellet, and they found that the mouse only ate when it was hungry. When they changed the frequency of the distribution of the food pellets, the mice became addicted to hitting the button because they felt like they were winning. Right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
There's something kind of similar in D&D where like in D&D you have multiple attacks and they're all the same chance of hitting, so you just go like, all right, cool. I missed. In Pathfinder, you can have up to 3 attacks. But every time you attack past the first, you get more and more inaccurate. But that's actually really fun because it starts to kind of feed that like, fuck it, man, what if? Shit! Like, you might miss a whole bunch, but the fact that you hit one time, it actually triggers that area of the brain that goes like, oh! Like,
yeah.
And the game is filled with a lot of those really smart design choices. Like, in D&D, if you have a shield, it automatically gets used. It adds to your AC bonus. If you have a shield, exactly, yeah, big whammy, big money, big money. If you use a shield in Pathfinder, it sits on your arm, but you have to use an action to put it up. So on paper, you might be like, fuck that, I don't want to waste one of my turns using something that just works in D&D. But they understand in the game design that, like, that's a gamble. Do I want to waste an attack? Put my shield, like, that feeds our gambling triggers. And so it's awesome. Those parts of the game are very well designed. The book is so horribly written that Josh has tried to read it for like every night for a week. He can't get through it. I've tried to read it. I do this for a fucking living.
Yeah.
I've done this for over 20 years. I can't finish this book. Every single class is its own game design. So like they tried to make certain things congruent throughout the classes, but mostly it's like the alchemist works in a completely different way than any other class, and so on and so forth. And they make it harder to survive, but they go pretty extreme. So like for those that play D&D, when you sleep that night, you get all your hit points back, right? In Pathfinder, you get your Constitution modifier times your level. At level 1, guess what your level is?
0?
It's 1. Sorry. And if you have a Constitution modifier of 2, every night you sleep, you get 2 hit points.
That's not good.
Nah, it's not great. James got it.
Yes.
It's brutal and badly written, and they don't seem to think that part matters as much. And it seems like more and more people can't get through the book. Like they're like, I'm sure it's good, but fuck that. And so we played it last night. And we gave up. We did 2 game sessions, and the second game session, we got far enough in, and then said just tell us what happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, here's the storyline.
Exactly, like James said, like I like more realism, but that doesn't seem fun.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not enough hit points back to feel even real.
Yeah,
because like you're taking a rest. Like you need to at least, I don't know. There needs to be some way to get your points back. It's like, well you got hurt, so now you have to go to the hospital.
Well, because the book is written so badly, we learned 2/3 of the way into the game that one of our players could actually make like up to 10 healing potions and put them in his pocket every day.
Oh, that's good.
But that means that they can't do anything else. They had to put all their points into that. Yeah.
Right. So just to be able to make the game playable.
Yeah, it's just rough. So I definitely want to check the game out when it comes out next year.
Yeah.
But no fucking way.
Not gonna be the Pathfinder playtest stream, huh?
No. It's just oh yeah, and then like they don't want you to play through the story at all. Like they just say like, here's the setup, but just put them in the dungeon. But that's not our fucking deal, man. We all want to role play. So there's an NPC, but they don't describe her. But there's a picture on the next day, and it's straight up Felicia Day. I don't give a shit. So I just changed her name to Felicia Day, and ran with it. And then like there was a goblin, but they don't show you what the goblin looks like. So it was a goblin of a difficult to pin down description, hardly memorable. That's how I described her because they didn't tell me. Because they don't want you to role play. They want you just to test their fucking game.
Yeah, so here's some rules. Play through it on paper. Don't have fun. Is that kind of sounds like the gist?
Like we're trying to find out if this game works, so save the fun for later.
Seems like ignoring the fun part is a problem.
Yeah, so
because that's why people do it.
Well, I guess they hope that their other shit's fun.
Maybe they're just hoping for the Dark Souls crowd to come through and be like, "No, you guys, you're just not having fun because you're not good at it."
Yeah.
I love games that are just impossibly
unfun. We got our teeth kicked in pretty hard. Yeah, and it's weird because they give you a lot more hit points, but the damage of the creatures goes up too. So you think at first like, oh, cool, they want level 1s to be a little more sturdy. They don't. They raised your hit points so that they could raise the creature's hit point and damage and stuff.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So glad.
Other than that, it was fun. Honestly, I secretly had this dream that Paizo would be the senpai that noticed us.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe one of the games could move to Paizo and be a Paizo thing. And no, we're cool. We'll stay.
Just go back to your AC.
Yeah. I don't know that any company's ever going to reach out to World Walkers at this rate. Like, and maybe I'm opening up too much, but like, for instance, they were looking for people to interview on D&D Beyond. And I was like, well, screw it, man. I sent them a big old thing. And I was like, here's who I am, here's what I do. And they want you to talk about how the game crosses over into your real life. And I wrote a big thing up about having cancer. And this big emotional segue and how it can move back into the game by the third act of the interview. Nothing. No responses. Because they want to make... D&D really wants to make their own campaign worlds. They want to sell inside Forgotten Realms and now Eberron. And Paizo has stuffed Pathfinder with Galarian, their world, like they're going more and more into selling their world.
Interesting.
So I don't think they want. I can't imagine that they would want World Walkers. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah. So the pressure's off to try to make their shitty fucking rulebook readable.
Well, there you go. Hey. James says he's like Starfinder from what he's heard from Glass Cannon.
It seems like a really cool game. I don't know how to run Star games, but no, that seems like a really cool system. And I like listening to Glass Cannon's amazing. Like they're one of the best.
I haven't actually listened to that one.
They're really good. I went nope. All right. So I went to, maybe I'll save this for Patreon exclusive, but I went to nope. I'll talk to you guys later. Sorry. That's just like one of those bridges that I'm gonna burn.
Fair enough. Well,
I've learned how other podcast people make their podcasts, and I don't agree on a moral level.
That's all right. Okay, so since you already brought this up, I'm going to ask a question that's over here. So how has your struggle with cancer changed the way you play? Or changed the game is the actual question.
Sure. I think that I'll tell you what it's done in a certain sense. And I don't know if it's exclusive to the game, but real talk, a lot of people like to hold the mentality of, oh, you never know how long you got on this earth, so you just do what you gotta do. Those people don't think they're gonna die tomorrow.
Right.
They think that they don't think it's gonna happen until they're 80 or 90. Until they're 70, they think it's gonna happen when they're 100.
Mm-hmm.
When you actually see the clock running and don't know when it's gonna stop, it can't help but have a certain kind of effect. So I'm handling my cancer medication very well. Things are going very well overall. But it can be hard. So I think what it's done, if anything, is I've always tried to have a certain focus on story. And ever since then, I think I've just kind of put a laser focus on the emotion behind stories. I really want, like, I don't know. I mean, if the question's up, like, to get a little, I guess, morbid or whatever, like, it would be cool if people knew like, World Walkers is not very big. We don't register on any sort of podcast scale. Like, we've been doing it for almost 2 years, and we're not really out there in the podcast scene. People don't really know who we are, which is fine. Like, I think I've got, everyone says it, but fuck them. I got the best fans. People are really interested and very supportive. And, yeah, I don't need to be like the top podcast out there. Like, what's fucking whatever. It would be cool if people could see, because I feel like I do actually like my stories. I like my worlds, and I put a lot of layers into it. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, one of my goals or dreams is for people to one day look back at the podcast, whether I'm gone or not, and say, like, well, shit, when he said this in episode this, he was talking about this. And, like, I love those reveals. Like, so for instance, I got it right here, actually, just by happenstance. When Tompkins was when the nightmares were infesting Tompkins, he I think we covered it in the podcast. I had a whole bunch of lines. I think I got through them all, actually. Where, like, the nightmares were trying to rip through his memories and learn where all the shards were. I actually went back and I wrote scripts for the moments that are not in the podcast, and then I pulled the text from the quotes that are actually in the podcast, and I kept listening to them and then practicing them so they would sound the same. So like when it's like, where is it? Yeah, hi, how can I help you? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm Tompkins. That's from episode 2, Curious About Mercurius. And I just took everyone else out of the conversation and role played that all over again.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect, but it's beat for beat. Or like this is, I guess, a slight a reveal, we'll call it. In all the music layers. So the music that I use here plays here. So for instance, there is music that plays when Ertleby first transforms into an elephant. That same music plays in Strange Magic episode 4. When Brummelstone goes into the cave to get the elemental stone. And there's a very, very good reason for that. I use music to connect all the moments and connect all the story threads and stuff like that. Same thing with in Strange Magic, might be episode 2 or 3, when they're using the cubic gate to jump from world to world. There's a moment where they go into like a gladiator fight. And the song that plays there, if I don't know if anyone caught it or not, is the same song that plays when Tompkins has the quote, "Then I'll face them all, every champion, until you show me her." Because
I was wondering about that. I was like, is that no? Well, maybe.
Brummelstone was on the same world where Tompkins said that quote. And I use the music to do that. So like, nice. I do think about even more so like what, even if I get to live for a long time, what sort of legacy am I going to leave behind in my work? Yeah. So it's definitely changed in that way, and it makes me think a lot. If you remember this question in X amount of time, I can tell you exactly how I think, because I wrote this storyline out ahead of time. We finally get to it in X number of episodes, and when we finally got to it, I was able to role play it in a post-cancer world. And I was able to play it even harder because I knew that what I wrote is going to cause an argument when people finally hear it, but I wouldn't take a second of it back because it's the most realistic I could possibly be. Yeah. Yeah. So it affects in the way that I want to make sure. And I actually share this too. When they first hit me with all this, they told me that one of the things that to make sure, because this is very heavy for people and it's hard for them to function, I guess, emotionally, and I was like, I'm fine. Like, we're just got to take it a day at a time, and I didn't realize until kind of recently, maybe like a couple months ago, that they tell you that you should be going to therapy and you should find a hobby, you should find things to take your mind off it. And I'm like, I don't sit around and think about it all day, because that's not going to get me anywhere. That's a lie. I'm so busy with my work that's what keeps my mind off of everything. It's what keeps me from going down like thought spirals. So not too long ago, I couldn't work for like a week. And luckily I was a little bit ahead on my buffer, so you guys didn't notice, I don't think. But man, without that work, like it was real hard. It was difficult. And so like when I thank people for listening to the podcast, it's more than just like, thanks for listening. Ha. It's like, thank you, because like, if I had a regular job and I had to miss the amount of work that I miss, I wouldn't have a fucking job. Yeah. I just would be fucked. But literally because of supporters on Patreon, literally because of listeners to the podcast, like I get to have the absolute best shot I've got at beating this, because I don't have to worry about some shitty manager who doesn't care I don't have to worry about ridiculously weird rules. I get to be with my daughter all day, every day. And I've got something that I used to love drawing comics, but nobody read them, and that's fine. It's whatever. But this is something I do people actually are into. And so people's interest in it gives me something to focus on, and I'm not sitting around thinking about morbid shit all the time, apparently. So it's affected the emotion I put into the story. Like, I haven't changed the emotion, but I definitely think it's more potent. You know? And then I think when it comes to the results of having a fan base, like, that is really big too, because I have thought to put I have something to put my thoughts into. And like, when I get to play with my friends, you know, like with the World Walkers COG group, I get to hang out with my friends, and we don't sit around talking about my cancer all day.
Right.
Like, we just come over and hang out and play. We got shit to do, man. Like, they got shit to kill and or run from. You know, the Wednesday game, those guys are awesome, and we get to hang out and just I get a nice big group, which I hadn't had for a while, so we get to just like rip shit up and see what comes out, and I get to explore parts of the story I didn't get to. But yeah, I think the underlying aspect of putting more emotion in the emotions is the story-based effect that it's had on it, because yeah, I have a new perspective now, because I do have to think about some of the terrible things you're not supposed to have to think about. And so when I make decisions in the game based on, because I think there's always like an interesting break between, like, when you listen to a podcast, when you watch a movie, you have a bird's eye view, so you're always like, no, don't do that. You're a fucking dipshit, right?
Right.
That's very easy to have that bird's eye view, but having some of these like big life experiences allows me to stay inside what a character's motivation would be, because they can't see the whole picture like everybody else. So
right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. By the way, when you were talking about having weird rules to deal with from your work, James said, you play D&D, you have to deal with weird rules.
There are some weird rules. Mostly they're in Pathfinder, but D&D has a few. Well, like, there was, like, in Pathfinder playtest, there's, like, there's these different conditions, and one of them is sensed, or one of them is seen, the next one is sensed, the next one is unsensed, and the next one is invisible, and they each have, like, a paragraph or 3 of rules as to how you deal with that. I'm like, I know how to deal with I can't see you.
Right.
I don't need rules. Like, here's flat checks and secret rolls and shit like that. No. I don't need all of this. Or like, they explain what death is, and they're like, death, you have the death condition. You are unable to move or act. You operate as an object. Yeah, I get it. It's very flat, boring language, and it doesn't make the book easy to read.
I don't know about the new Pathfinder rules. Have you tried to read that book? Where were you a minute ago?
I did. I've been trying. And I do this for a living, but
that's funny. Where were you a minute ago, James, when he was going off on it?
You just sent me something and it popped up on the screen for a second, because that's where the Zoom chat is, so that's funny. Yeah, we've got about 15 more minutes, and then we're gonna wrap this up.
Sorry, everybody.
No,
as you can tell, I'm yawning.
No, it's all good.
Pedro was yawning earlier. Well, here, let's do a couple more questions, since there are a couple more. I like this one a lot because I think it's hilariously wordy. Were you purposely trying to give us all musical episode Blue Balls when Calliope almost burst into song in the beginning of Strange Magic Part 1? Your "but she doesn't" was so matter of fact.
Yeah, not musical blue balls, but the idea that, like, waiting for a musical thing to happen. I don't know if never mind. I don't know if we had gotten the musical episode scored
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, like basically, like I don't know if we had hit the Patreon goal when that was recorded, so I would be a little surprised. No, mostly just me trying to be funny because of musical moment in the storybook Fable world. As to when that's coming out, every single goal I have is this year. I've been trying to find people who will help us write the music because I don't want to do just straight parody for everything. We might if everybody wants to, but I've gotten the outline written out, and basically with everything going, I've been having seizures randomly. And then the cancer stuff. And I'm not saying this is an excuse. I'm saying that like my
it's
wife
really not
is
conducive to the rest of us enjoying your podcast. So if you could just stop,
right.
being sick
No, but
altogether.
it's more that my wife is going to help write the music because I can't write music, and so we have to get our literal house in order so that she has the time to sit down and write the music. So
True.
And then we're gonna have, and then she's also by the end of the month we're gonna have our official logo finished finally, which means that we will have merchandise rolling out after that.
Yes.
So excited.
Save up your money, everybody.
We definitely want to have like a bunch of like merchandise set up for Christmas, and then next year, one or more of us. This is not official, but we're really trying to be at Origins in Ohio next year. We're going to try and get a big table and have X amount of us there and the rest sending merch.
Look at all these new people that just joined.
Hey,
what's up, everybody?
So,
for sure, that'd be awesome. I mean, not that I'm coming to Ohio or anything, but it sounds great. That's awesome. That would be cool, though. Welcome, everybody that just came in.
Welcome.
So let's see. Okay, speaking of throwbacks, by the way, we were just talking about, just for everybody out there, the fact of the matter is that we were just talking about how Pedro likes to layer stuff in, and those moments where you come back, where you kind of come back and you hear something over again, and you're like, oh man, I'm pretty sure I've heard that before. If you haven't listened to the podcast more than once, when we started World Talkers, I went back and started listening from the beginning again, and it was like the very first episode. There's so much like layered in to that, to the introduction to the characters that you wouldn't even notice because you have no idea what they're all about. But like the door changes specific to the world that they're from.
Yeah.
There's a gray mist that follows Brummelstone or Roberto
and
in.
Those sounds play like in episode 57-ish or maybe later when Patch is thumbing through the doors trying to find out where to go. I put those original sounds in there. It's like, boom, 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 boom. Like, yeah.
Like it's really wild to go back through. So, speaking of, somebody asks, way back in episode 2, when Vasa first strikes a nightmare, they say it was expecting something else. Can you tell us what that was?
If I remember correctly, that is back in episodes, like towards the end of Curious About Mercurius, they get into their first nightmare fight, and that's when Vasa attacks. And I think back then I took it very slow trying to explain, kind of give them descriptive feel for how their characters attacked to see if they would contradict me, see if I understood it right. And if I remember correctly, that attack, she only hit because of her dex. And so I don't know. If there's a thicker reason, I'll have to try to think of what it was. But I think that she hit by her dex. And so I was trying to say, like, it looks like it expected something else. Like it expected her to miss. But it instead plunged through. I don't know if that's the case or if it was the fact that everyone that attacked before her, I think, had magic. And so maybe it had stymied itself against magic and then got hit with a physical weapon. It's one of those two. It's either because she barely got through because of her dex bonus, or because it was ready to block magic, and maybe I was trying to show that it had already picked a damage reduction. It's one of those two, but it's nothing more than that. So.
James, do you find that satisfactory? He took credit for that one.
Oh, nice.
And are you able to talk in? It says about the in or out of game origins of the nomads.
I think so. That one kind of just evolved naturally. It was that, like, I used to play my first game, my first like setting took place on this island called Arcadia on the world of Menroth. And I had this idea, but I didn't know what I was doing. And so we had like, there's these big dungeons and places to explore. And I didn't think that regular stores would be able to afford the treasure they brought back. It just seemed weird because the main hub city for them was a village called Ganstaff. And it just seemed weird that there would be like someone there who's like, would you like a couple of arrowheads? Perhaps these gauntlets of ogre strength. Like, it didn't make any sense. So, so I came up with the concept of like a traveling salesman who just had a bag of holding, because I thought that idea of bag of holding was cool. I had never heard of one before. I was like, well, he has a bag of holding, and then he has a whole bunch of magic shit in there. And then I was like, but where would he sell this stuff? Well, he probably walks, maybe he can travel off the island, teleport around, and then sell it to a whole bunch of places. And I hadn't had anything developed outside of the island at that time. So I was just like, yeah, he just teleports around and stuff like that. That's cool. And then I thought about it more and more, and I was like, well, what if there was a whole bunch of them? They all network together because, like, I don't know. It just seems weird that, like, he can't, if he's walking between different dimensions, like,
how would he be there when you need him?
Yeah, it'd be impossible to like luck across him. So I came up with the idea of like, there's the nomads, but no, they never tell anybody that. Everyone that knows the nomad or knows a nomad thinks they know the nomad.
Like the Dread Pirate Roberts of merchants.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen Princess Bride. So I wasn't until I met my wife that she's like, you haven't seen Princess, like, so. And if I understand correctly, I don't know if I do.
Monster.
When I went to Gen Con, I went to I checked out the Critical Role booth, and I don't watch Critical Role, but apparently like there's a shopkeep in Critical Role now that's like a whole bunch of clones or something. It's like Pull Matt's Soul is the main one, and then there's a whole bunch of them that look just like him, and I'm like, great minds, man. Like I don't know. So I'm waiting for someone to find me after Critical Role and go, way to steal from fucking Mercer.
It's different enough, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of fun that, you've got like, you solved a problem piecemeal. Like, I need a person that has the ability to capture magical things and to sell magical things and to have the money for it. And I need him now that I have more worlds to go to.
That's exactly what happened. Like, I think most people who have listened to enough of the game realize that there's an island called Arcadia, like I just mentioned, right? And I do a lot of my stuff piecemeal. I present myself with a problem and then answer the question. And that's how I build. That's how I build everything.
Yeah.
So when I came up with Arcadia, I was like, well, I don't want to develop any more than I have to because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to have some fun, So I came up with the island, and I was like, well, I don't want them to be able to go too far off the island because I think the idea would be cool that it's a floating island.
Right.
And I was like, well, how do I keep them off the floating island? Or keep them on the floating island? Why? I like the idea they don't know. So the idea is that for the longest time, until maybe a couple of years ago, the people of Arcadia did not know they were on a floating island. well, how do I keep them from that? So then I was like, what if there was a giant forest around there? And it was like, yeah, that would do it then, because no one could get through the forest. Well, why couldn't they get through the forest, though? The further you go into the forest, the more dangerous it gets. And I can throw anything in there then. Any kind of wild fucking battle could have happened if you go X amount of days into the forest. But why? And so I came up with a reason for that. And that's how I built the island of Arcadia. Like, I just kept creating a situation and then trying to figure out. My thought process eventually grew to, like, I come up with a story and then I go, who's going to bitch about it and what are they going to bitch about? Here's their answer. Like, yeah. If someone was going to pick this apart, what would they pick apart? They probably pick this part apart. So what's my answer ahead of time? Like, trying to anticipate problems. And then, because once you have enough foundation, in the event that you do have to improv an answer, you can write it down real fast. And since you know enough about your shit, you should be able to plug it in pretty nicely. It's like you've got like this Lego construction. Someone throws you a pile of bricks you got to add. As long as the foundation's sound, you should be able to put these on there in some way. Yeah,
it should be all right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Let's see. This is an answer I think we kind of technically know, but I like it. But I want to ask it anyways. Are there other beings like the swamp god in your other worlds?
Yeah. So they did kind of experience that in Cog on the Twisting Swamps.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I've been kind of lacing in is the idea that elementals are more than just cool creatures. They've been having more and more and more of a story presence. Like, they've always had a big story presence, but you're getting to see more and more of that. So, for instance, like the very first game session, we have an elemental walk into a bar. People didn't really realize it because it was Roberto, but Roberto is an elemental inside a golem, inside an animated piece of armor.
Right.
The elementals play a big role in all of my, like, not all my games, it sounds dramatic, but like I've always loved it. I've always loved elementals and stuff like that. So like they have a big part in the history of Menroth. They have been showing up on Cog now because of the elemental stones that were discovered in Strange Magic, and the fact that like the swamp
a lot
creature
of them got out of there.
Yeah, and the Twisting Swamp.
Right.
You know, that was a swamp-like deity creature too.
Shadow dragons.
Yeah. To answer James' questions, I forgot to ask. The first thought I had when you talked about imprisoning a concept, my first thought was Pasmos. Am I warm? Quite the opposite, unfortunately. I might have discussed it before. Pasmos was actually created due to player error. So the Pasmos was a whole different world back then. When I first created it, Pasmos was I think called the World of Dungeons, and the idea was that the people of Pasmos discovered that their world had layers upon fucking layers and layers and layers underground, and so they would hire adventurers to go into the dungeon depths and discover the entire history of Pasmos that once only existed. Like, they only have a piece of their history. They're learning that entire civilizations and cultures have been lost underground. That was the original design for Pasmos. And then my group had a chance to one of my groups had a chance to stop a demon, and they failed. And the demon took Pasmos, and so that world's fucked. Like, that's the very, very short version of it. Like, they did not stop the summoning of a powerful demon, and once it came, it just took the planet.
Awesome.
Fun time.
And Josh says he felt echoes of the swamp god on Menroth when they fought the Earth Elemental. Same sort of deal?
Earth Elemental. Help me, man. What is this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hear the Menroth game.
Yeah, hit me up with that, Josh. I'll answer that in a second. I kind of not remembering. And James, like, I'm holding out for Pasmos game. I did not know, like, Pasmos is
that's
like
2.
It's more than 2. I've had like 5 or 6 people like hit me up going like, "Hey man, when you doing Pasmos?" I was like, I don't think anyone wants to hear a Pasmos game. Like,
really?
Yeah, I just don't think it's gonna be any fun. Oh, on the farm with those weird plants. That was on Menra? I thought that was on Rolanus. Huh.
With the weird plants. Yeah, that was on Rolanus.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Yeah. You're on Menroth now.
No. Same idea in that I like elementals, but not like it wasn't like a the exact same thing. But yeah, the elementals have a certain thought pattern, a certain thought process I try to keep in context, but it wasn't nearly the same thing. But I think we might need one more question, and then I know we got to wrap it up. So,
all right, let's see. Let's get a good one then. Boy, I think we might have actually done them all.
Yeah. If anyone has a question, let us know. We'll try and grab one more. But
the only one that we still have is a very technical one.
Ooh.
So while editing the podcast, do you ever get software issues? Probably.
No.
Does it get frustrating? Well, and how do you work through it?
Here's the only issue I have. I use Adobe Audition. Oh, that's a good one too. What's a question?
That is a good question.
I like that a lot. Well, I use Adobe Audition. It never fucks up. Ever. I bought a brand new Mac with Patreon money. So, like, it's all good. I don't ever have it fuck up. Here's the only technical issue. Oh, my God.
Find some wood. What are you doing? You were tempting the fates.
If I had luck on my side, this whole year would have been a lot different.
Fair. All right.
But I don't really have like software crash or anything like that for the I don't think so. Here's the only thing I do.
Adobe Audition is probably like their best piece of software that they've got.
I've been told to think about using Logic, but and I've got someone's coming over. They did part of it yesterday, and they're doing the rest of it tomorrow. They're coming over and setting a whole bunch of fucking presets up, so that when I load up the workflow for World Walkers COG, it's all done.
Nice.
He's like he knows how to do like sound engineering and stuff, and so like he's setting it for each of their voices, and it's gonna pan a little to the right or left depending on who's talking. So like you'll hear 2 of the players a little bit more on the left and 2 of them a little bit more on the right.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, I'm super excited. But here's the only problem I do have is that the way we record our podcast for World Walkers is I record through Zoom, and then everyone records their individual audio files through usually Audacity. And the idea is that they send me their Audacity files, I line them up with the master track, and then after I clean them and stuff like that, they're good to go. The situation we run into is that sometimes like a file gets lost or someone can't find it or they didn't send it to me in time. And that means I have to go into the original files, which are of lower quality, and build their audio again. And that adds hours of work and stress. I still love what I do, so it's not like real stress, but like that adds such a tremendous amount.
You can like something and still not like the parts that suck.
Yeah, that part that is by far the hardest part. So like this week, I'm missing 2 files. Ooh. I've got the originals, but I'm gonna. So like when you use Zoom, if you mute yourself, Brian helped me learn this. If you mute yourself, it stops recording you. So let's say we all talk for 3 hours, but if you muted yourself for an hour and a half, every time you hit mute, it stops recording and then comes in. So the audio tracks don't sync up when they're individual files. So
it doesn't leave a blank space. It's the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing I've
weird
ever.
design choice. It's a tremendous amount of work. So like in the last 2 episodes, 2 of the World Walkers have not given me like. Well, we're trying to find out what happened to the audio. I don't want to say that they didn't give it to me, but we can't find their audio. So it's me sitting there like slicing and cutting and shifting around and resyncing over and over again. That makes it incredibly tough. And I because my pledge, whether it's spoken or not spoken, is weekly podcasts. Or so fucking help me. I've only missed a few, and they broke my heart. Like, I felt so fucking terrible. I used to try to release the side adventures alongside the actual podcast, and that was too much. But I've gotten fast enough that I should be able to do this and World Walkers Cog together. But that's my vow, is like weekly podcast. I don't ever miss. That's what it's kind of fun is like, we're not the most popular podcast, but we're like one of the fucking, I think we've got to be one of the most hardest working podcasts. We might be the hardest working podcast that I can think of. I don't know anyone that releases consistent weekly podcasts. There's the podcast that made me aware that I could do something like this as a podcast is on episode 80, and I just pushed out 75. And they started well before me. So, fuck what you heard. What you're hearing.
So tell everybody, you can take the advanced sage push and shootouts marketing mentality of 1642. They say to tell 16 of your friends 4 times a day for 2 years. 16 friends 4 times a day for 2 years. Let's end with James's question though. What's a question that you wish someone would ask?
Oh man,
because that's a solid question. I like that.
I don't know. I think we had a couple of them hit today. So I was dying for someone to ask me. I think like it's usually something like why'd you play this song at this time or something, or like who are the like I with each character telling us about their world, I played their theme song because each character has a theme song. Let me think. Everything basically it would have been like the creation of the universe, but we finally covered that. That was one that was always been waiting to. It's like the question I wish someone would ask, but I couldn't answer for the longest time. Or basically just the selfish question is like, hey, can you ever want to tell us about this old adventure, something like that? I've been asked to do like how to be a GM videos and stuff like that. Yeah. But like actually my favorite questions are the ones where I get to ask you guys questions almost, because like I would love to do a how to be a GM video. But I don't have the arrogance to think that I know what you need without talking to you. Do you know, does that make sense? Like, I would rather answer a question and answer format like this. I would rather have like a tip line or something like that than to go like, here's what I think you're doing wrong as a GM person I've never met. It's cool for the people that can do it.
Make it more positive if you wanted to.
That's maybe, but like, I just don't have. I don't have the arrogance to do something like that, to sit there and go like, let's talk about how to make your game better. Your game's probably fine. People are a lot better than they think they are. No, I mean, you know that as a creative, your shit's better than you think you are. It just almost always
it's all
is.
garbage.
Then that means it's at least not garbage.
It's true.
It's always better than you think you are. And, you know, if you're having fun with your friends, things like that, like, you're probably just a fine GM, and who gives a shit? So besides like little lore questions, which you guys already asked, I think like advice questions are really fun because I would like to talk about that stuff, but I'm just not conceited enough to go like, it's time to fix GMing.
Well, maybe if people asked you specific questions, you could make videos on those.
I'd be tempted to do that, yeah.
So there you go, guys. If you want to know GMing tips, ask very specific questions.
Or gaming tips or story writing or lore or world building, shit like that. Like,
yeah.
But
that'd be good.
All right. Well, I think that's it. I think we got through all our questions.
So. We did it.
I want to thank Enzo for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. Obviously, thank you, Brian, for hosting this again. This will be posted to the public next week once questions and answers part 2. But they won't be able to, like, only you guys can watch live and ask questions and interact.
Only
you guys are supporters. So,
thank you guys. Have a great night and a good weekend.
Later on.
Bye.
Bye.